Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us and Dr. Walker here today for our webinar, Evolve, How to Rise from the Pandemic from the Inside Out. I think all of the information he's going to share with us today, it's relevant, it's timely, it's much of it is, I think, what we need to hear as we're looking to start returning to a normal or our new normal of professional and personal lives. If you do have questions throughout, the presentation, feel free to input them into the chat box, and we'll get to them as fast as we can. And with that, I want to go ahead and introduce Dr. Walker, who is a forward-thinking educator, strategic business partner, and human resources executive with more than 30 years of corporate experience. In addition to his human capital management practice, he's also a clinical professor. He teaches as an adjunct right here at Roosevelt University, and each of his corporate education courses have been successfully designed to expose and remove the barriers to clients becoming their best selves through common sense change in the way they see themselves and how they process the information available to them. Dr. Walker has earned his bachelor's with a cum laude and a master's degree in workforce education development from Southern Illinois University, right here in Carbondale, Illinois. And he's also earned his doctorate degree in education policy and organization leadership with a concentration in human resources development from the University of Illinois. So with that, Dr. Walker, thank you so much for joining us here today, giving us your time and sharing your expertise. I will go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thank you, Christy, and welcome to all of you. I appreciate you being here. It's a pleasure to come before you. Christy and I have spoken relative to this forum, and this is the first time I've been able to present to this forum. So I am humbled and that to do so. And we're going to talk about a very global yet sensitive subject today, and it's very necessary because it has affected everyone. We have been in a pandemic all over the world. COVID-19 has touched everyone. There is no one that you know, and no one that we all know that haven't been affected by that in some way, shape, or form. And now it seemingly we are turning the corner. We have a vaccine. Many are getting vaccinated. The numbers are down. The number of deaths are down. But we're still a little skittish on the inside. And so I want to talk about how to rise from the pandemic from the inside out. There is not going to be a switch that we can click and just get back to normal, irrespective of what part of the world that you are in. So we're going to start talking about that. So right now, I just want to get it out there because the pandemic has affected us in a plethora of ways. And I personally know people, clients that have passed away from COVID-19. Some have been very ill. Some I've talked to on one day, and 2 days, 3 days later, they were gone. And it has affected all of us. And so I want to talk about the bad, the ugly, and the good. The bad, the pandemic stifled us as a global society and sent us spiraling into despair. The ugly is many lives were lost. Many careers were lost, and we're trying to cope as best we can. And it has affected us both personally and professionally. And the good is with scientific advancements, we are turning the corner on getting back to just a hint of normalcy. And in that, it has affected us mentally, it has affected us emotionally. We all have insecurities, we're frightened, we're uncertain. And by the way, we had those insecurities before the pandemic even started. And so the fear of what's going on now takes away the quality of life that we could be having. But one of the messages that I want to send today is that we are fearfully and wonderfully made also. And so you have to embrace your complexity. We are as humans, we are good at bouncing back. We have a history all over the world of how we bounced back in every genre, every situation, every gender, all aspects of society. And so one of the key aspects of evolving is to embrace your complexity. We're all complex individuals. We all have our own individuality, and embrace your complexity. Many times we feel stuck. We don't know where to start. We don't feel strong enough to make a change coming out of this. But we are wired for change. Our body is wired for change. Our brains creates more energy, electrical impulses. Our brains create more electrical impulses in one day than all the cell phones on the planet. So you have it in you to change. And so the pandemic leveled us to a point of protection, to a point of survival, to a point of introspection. And now coming out of that, we ask ourselves, how do I change to fit in with the new climate? How do I change to be better? And how do I get to where I'm going? And we're all at different points in the spectrum on that. But evolving is the power to make that change. And for years, even before the pandemic even started, so just one of the things that my children tell me is just to keep it real. So in keeping it real, for years, before the pandemic even started, we tried to fit in, and we just couldn't. We didn't fit into someone else's ideology. We didn't fit into some sociological box. We didn't fit into some idealism that was promulgated in our circle. We've all thought in some way that I am different, and we've tried to fit in, and we just couldn't. The idea behind this symposium right now is to tell you that you get to be you. It's okay to be you. That's all right. You're most effective at being you. You're more contributory when you're you. You're more efficient when you're you. And it's your time. And it's an evolution for us to get to where we're going, and being us and being authentic, being our authentic selves. So the objective here is to take you from being unsure to secure within yourself, and having the confidence to move forward in your own life. As we look at the new normal, what we once knew as normal has now been demolished. And what we are seeking is what that new normal is. And that is being defined for us day by day within ourselves and within our external environments. We're struggling to process our emotions. Every client that I talk to, in some way, shape, or form, questions their decisions, business decision, questions their emotional context, questions whether or not what they're saying is going to be effective for the people that they're supporting operationally. We're struggling to process schedules. We're struggling to process our lives and put it all back together in some sort of way, give us some sort of homeostasis that we can really function. And that's a day-by-day, step-by-step process. And the depression that has come with that has in many cases become the silent crisis that we deal with constantly. And I hear it all of the time. Sometimes I don't know how to process what's going on. Sometimes it's driving me crazy. Dr. Walker, sometimes how do I deal with this going on and that going on? What do I tell my children? What do I tell my mother that I'm caring for? What do I tell my father? How do I interact with my children, my grown children, as we deal with this? It's completely common to want to feel secure about how things are going to turn out in our own lives and in the lives that we affect. That is completely normal, and it is completely common. So we want to talk about a step-by-step framework in this symposium, aligned with your own values, that will allow you to make some adjustments necessary to address uncertainties in your lives and be more secure about who you are. As a result of being here today, you would have identified those elements, and that would take you, make you from secure from the inside out, resulting in more confidence for you, more self-assuredness, and resolve to live the life that you were destined to live. I've heard many people make comparisons over the years and say, if I just had this or that, or if I was a little taller, or if I were a little slimmer, or if I had more hair, or if I had this or I had that. Everything you need to succeed is already in you. It is already in you. And this symposium is going to highlight that so you can live your best life. All right. So the next slide I want to talk about, we talked about some objectives. And I want you to, the next slide is show up to your own party. Be a part of your own celebration. Many times in life, we celebrate everything and everybody but ourselves. When it comes to us, we take the short end of the stick all of the time. We're good in fact, I would go so far as to say we are excellent at celebrating other people. But when it comes to ourselves, we don't do it very well. Do you not know the average person can't even look at themselves in the mirror over 7 seconds? Because when you start looking in the mirror over 7 seconds, you start noticing what's wrong with you. So all of us have felt insecure of ourselves at one time or another. And when that's not addressed, we look to other people so that we can feel sure and certain. And this takes the form of acceptance, validation, approval from others. And in a negative sense, it takes the form of anger. It takes the form of an inflated ego. All a person that with an inflated ego is an insecure person, is a person that didn't get enough validation in their lives. And we all know people like that. In my case, I'm related to some people like that, maybe not you, but the reality is, regardless of your background, you don't need any of that to gain a secure, stable, solid mindset of who you are. People don't advance for 2 reasons: the lack of knowledge and where there is no vision. And our time together will help you lock in on both. Working on you never, ever, ever gets old. And so we're going to talk about values, and we're going to talk about worth and value and dignity, because those things are crucially important to you feeling good about yourself. We're going to start talking about values. And why is values important? Values are important because the result of being aligned with your values is pure and simple joy, happiness, peace of mind, self-respect, and a sense of fulfillment. I'm going to say that again. The result of being aligned with your values is the pure and simple joy, happiness, peace of mind, self-respect, and sense of fulfillment. That's how I define being secure within yourself. That you have simple joy, happiness, peace of mind, self-respect, and a sense of fulfillment. In spite of what has happened in your past, in spite of the pandemic, life happens to everybody. We've all had life happen to us. We've all been affected by the pandemic in one way or another. We all are having our internal struggles and our internal dialogue and being better. So you don't have to be afraid of someone else having something you don't. All you have to do is work on you. We can appreciate where we are right now, even if where you are is not everything you desire. Your attitude is a reflection of your focus. You can have a good attitude in a bad situation. It is the propulsion from that good attitude that lifts you to the next level. And so it's about the journey. It's not about the destination. So let me take a step back and give you a little bit of my story that you didn't get in my bio. So as Christy was saying, I'm a career HR person. And in 2013, I decided to go back to grad school to get my doctorate degree. And I lived in Chicagoland, so I went full time at the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana, which, if those of you who don't know Chicagoland, that's about a 2.5, 3-hour drive, depending on where you live in Chicagoland. I started in January of 2014. And the first day I walked into class, the first thing I noticed was that I was the oldest person there by far. I was 51 years old at the time. The average age of the student in there would mirror the average age of a doctoral student, which was between 25 and 28 years old. I sat right in the front of the class, and I was scared. I was nervous. I didn't know what to expect. I hadn't been to grad school in many years. I knew the challenges from the orientation that I received, and I didn't know what was going on. In the first semester I spent there, that spring semester, I was incredibly intimidated. I was unsure of myself, and frankly wondering whether or not I made the right decision. Have you ever wondered whether or not you made the right decision over a situation in life? Have you ever wondered, ask yourself, what did I get myself into? Have you ever wondered, how am I going to get out of this situation? And after that first semester is over, I realized I had something that the rest of my contemporaries didn't have. And that, at the time, was 25 years of corporate experience. I had experience of my boots on the ground actually doing it. And so I instead of looking at myself from a negative standpoint, I started to focus on it from a positive standpoint and realized that I had something that the rest of my contemporaries didn't have. And it changed my mind, it changed my perspective, it changed everything. So what happens when you don't change is that you get caught up in somebody else's craziness, some other organization's craziness, and many people are frustrated every single day. I hear it all of the time. They have good jobs, they have great titles, but they're still frustrated. I'm doing something I don't like. I'm involved in something I don't want to be involved in, and it's taking away from what I was meant to do and who I was meant to be. I am going to give, in many classes that I teach and many clients that I see, I give different definitions for everything. All right. So if you've ever been around Dr. Walker, you know that Dr. Walker gives different definitions, and I'm about to give you one of those different definitions. The definition I'm going to give you is for insanity. All right. And we've heard many times insanity is doing the same thing, expecting a different result. I've got a different definition for that. Insanity is discounting the quality of your character to accommodate another person's lack of growth. I'll say that again. Insanity is discounting the quality of your character to accommodate another person's lack of growth. What we're going toward is to gather the tools here in this symposium before we're done to gain the mindset for you to be who you were meant to be. So I said before, people don't advance for two reasons: the lack of knowledge and where there is no vision. So make a decision that you're going to a new normal. It feels funny. It feels different. And maybe it's even uncomfortable. I'll give you that. Discomfort is normal while you're growing. So we're going to talk about values, small doses to different. Our values help define the kind of person we want to be and the kind of life we want to live. When we live in accordance with those values, they influence our priorities, our thinking, our choices, our decision-making, our actions. But values allow you to be true to yourself. I think it was Socrates that coined the term, to thine own self, be true. It is values that allow you to be true to yourself. If you can't be true to yourself, you can't be true to anyone else. So as a result of defining your values, you will become clear on where you want your life to go, how it progresses, and who fits in it. That is very, very poignant for you. Because when you have that, it allows you to be courageous enough to make the call of who stays and who goes. All right, so on the next slide, I have a values clarification worksheet to help you get started. I will pass it along to Christy. She can pass it along to you. I have a values clarification worksheet. And you can have that worksheet, and working on you, I said it earlier, never gets old. It lists attributes that are to be ranked from 1 to 10. And you can feel free, if I haven't covered one, to add your own. And the reason you have to do it on your own is because it's so personal. Number one, we don't have the time to do it here in this venue, but number two, we would have to spend several hours talking about your values, because your values are so personal to you. Understanding them will help you recognize the areas of your life that need more attention and what to prioritize in your own future. And why is this important? Because people often give their time, their energy, their resources to activities that are not congruent with their professed values. And then in that case, you're simply wasting time. All right, Chrissy.
Yeah, let me jump in for a second. First, thank you so much for being open to sharing this worksheet with us all. From our perspective, the text is a little bit small, so I'm hoping maybe you can share just a few of the values listed there. And also a question to that is, working with so many clients, I imagine you use this. Are there any values that you see employees tend to gravitate to at a higher percentage than others?
Oh gosh, yes. So I'm going to bring this up. Let me see. If we look at this, and I will certainly share this, I'm sorry that it's small. The values, the top 5 values of clients that I work with is family, spirituality, independence, calmness, and respect. Family, spirituality, independence, calmness, and respect. Those are the top ones that I see. But we have others that are on that list: love, reason, humor, wealth, honesty, success, friends, beauty, knowledge, wisdom, free time, calmness, respect, adventure, stability, peace, variety, achievement. And so those are some of the other ones, to your question, Chrissy, that are on that values clarification worksheet. But that's a very personal, and it is a very poignant aspect of who you are and how you feel secure within yourself. You're a limited resource. There's only so much of you to go around. Clarifying your values helps you make wise choices. So I'm going to give you another Dr. Walker definition. I'm going to give you a definition as we round the corner and get ready to close. I'm going to give you a definition for the word destiny. We often see it as some nebulous calling, a mysterious place that we have to get, that we fall into or stumble into or get carried into, or we hear that word destiny a lot. Destiny is not a place where you arrive. Destiny is directed development that occurs over time. As a matter of fact, destiny is not a place at all. It's not. It's a mindset that changes your energy, it changes your input, it changes your outlook, it changes your lifestyle, and it changes your methodology. That's destiny. The opposite of courage is not cowardice. We think that if we line up synonyms and the opposite of courage is not cowardice. The opposite of courage is conformity. People are acting like everyone else and not knowing why. No direction, no focus, no vision, no process. So on top of your values clarification worksheet, right at the top, write in bold letters, I suggest, what do I want? It's not out of your grasp. Christy, how are we looking on time?
We are good. We have until 1, so we have
Okay.
as much time as you need.
Okay, so I'm going to cover this and then we're going to close. If you have any questions, I'm more than glad you can type those in as I'm talking, and we'll try and get to that. But we're going to talk about now, it's so very important to me, and every time I do this in a corporate setting, this is where I spend the most time. And keep in mind, and lately, the last year, I've done it Zoom, but I've also done it face-to-face. But this is where I spend the most time on Zoom with clients. I'm going to talk about worth, value, and dignity. And worth is what you know about you. Value is what you think about you. And dignity is how you feel about you. Okay, so worth, what do you know about you? Your nuances, your idiosyncrasies, your peculiarities, your proclivities, your strong suits, your dysfunctions. What do you know about your heart, the position and the condition of your heart? Irrespective of where you find yourself, you have the ability to change. You have the ability to do and be something different. Why? Because you are a person of worth. And if I take a gold bullion and I throw it in the mud and I take it out, it's still worth what it was worth before I threw it in there, even if it's got a little mud on it. So even though you've been through a situation, even though you've been through a pandemic, even though you've suffered loss, even though you've had to adjust your life, even though you've had to adjust your schedule, even though you've had to adjust how you think, you are still a person of worth. And you have to know that. Worth, what you know about you. Value, what you think about you. That means how much weight do you assign to what you've been given? Don't transfer the responsibility of assigning your value to someone else. Put another way, as I said a couple of slides ago, show up at your own party. Participate in your own life. We're conditioned to assign value to everything but ourselves. So, as an example, you can go into any department store anywhere in the world and pick up a Timex watch and look at it. You can adjust it, you can try it on, you can you can fumble around with it. You can do that with a Timex watch. You cannot go anywhere in the world and simply pick up a Rolex watch and start fumbling around with it. You need assistance. The people that are going to show you the Rolex watch have to wear a white glove, and they have to get it from a locked cabinet. Why? Because it has more value. It has more intrinsic value, and it has more financial value, frankly. The value is assigned by the maker of the watch. Your value, whether you like Rolex or not, everybody knows that's a brand of value. Your value is assigned by you, not an organization, not another person, not another set of circumstances, not a group of friends, not your Facebook groups, not your group chats. It's assigned by you. You assign your own value. We're conditioned to buy the latest technological gadget, but we don't invest that time or those resources in ourselves. How much weight have you assigned to who you are? You are a person of high value. Dignity, how you feel about you, your past, your present, and your future. Here's the linchpin. Anything that has happened in your past is gone. Anything that's happened in your past is gone. And if you say it's not gone, that time doesn't exist anymore. So you got to tell yourself the truth. Even if the truth is a murky thing, even if the truth makes you wince, even if you deal with the part of you that you effectuate the most, that's your present. So if your past, everybody has had decisions that they've questioned. Everybody has had unfortunate things happen to them. Everybody has had stinky things happen to them. Everybody has questioned if I woulda, coulda, shoulda, if I would have done something different in the past. But the only thing that you can affect is the present. Live every day with an awareness and a cognizance of where you are with you. You may not be where you want to be, but you are not where you used to be. Making progress, dignity, how you feel about you. So when we talk about a new normal, we hear that term tossed around a lot too. A new normal has to be calibrated. It has to be adjusted. It has to be fine-tuned and cut to the continuity of your life. So your new normal is not going to match your next door neighbor's new normal. And you all could have the same house, you could drive the same car, you could have kids the same age, but your new normal is going to be tailor-made to you. And how you learn a new normal is just as important as what you learn in that new normal. I'm fascinated with how we use the word educate in our society, in the Western world. I'm fascinated on how we misuse that word all the time. The Latin root of the word educate doesn't mean to put in. We think in the Western world that I'll go somewhere and I'll gain some knowledge and they'll pour something into me and I'll walk out smarter. That is the wrong way to think about it. That is not what the word even means. The word educate in its Latin root means to draw out. So wherever you go to get educated, all they're doing is drawing out of you what you already have in you. And I tell people all the time, I tell clients all the time, this is a sidebar, college is not for everybody, but an education is. Learning is. Advancement is. A degree may not be for everybody, but certification might be. Continuous improvement is. And so as we look at our, sometimes we get jaded by saying, I don't want to go back to school for this, or, I'll look at it this way if I don't actually end in a terminal degree. That's not so. Maybe you just get certified. Maybe you just go back for enrichment. That's okay. All work is honorable. The path of education is important because your destiny unfolds while it is being drawn out. Educate is to draw out of you. And so what is being drawn out of you is knowledge, and knowledge is power. And that gives you character, or should. And that character is the antidote to insecurity. Starting is good. Finishing is better. Working on you is one of the most demanding tasks you will ever have because it causes you to face your fears, your inconsistencies, your shortcomings, all of it. All of it. And what takes that fear away is when you navigate a structure to build called values. That's what we were talking about. Values takes the fear away of advancing and allows you to be true to you. So don't sabotage your success by not recognizing and making adjustments to your character. And when people ask you all the time, people ask you what happened tell them, look them right in the face and tell them, I changed. It's okay to change. You don't need anyone's permission to change. Sometimes, simply put, we have to move out of our own way. The entire time I was going to grad school to get my doctorate, nobody knew about it. The only people that really knew were my kids, and obviously the people that I was, my contemporaries. But outside of the university campus, the only people that knew it were my children. I told them. I never mentioned it one time to a friend. I never talked about it to a client until I got to the point where I had to write my dissertation. I never put a post on social media. I never, for 4 years, I never did anything. And it wasn't until I successfully defended my dissertation and earned the title doctor that I actually announced it. And I had my relatives, I had cousins, I had nieces, I had nephews that were angry at me. They said, Alonzo, why didn't you tell us? I didn't want to tell you. I just wanted to do it. Sometimes you just have to do it. You don't have to announce it. I didn't want anyone to know. Okay, so our last slide, and we'll get you out of here on this. We talked about worth, value, and dignity, and now we're going to talk about expectations and standards. And I said earlier that the opposite of courage is not cowardice, it's conformity. And we're going to talk about some personal boundaries, because that's key. So to get where you need to go, you have to have boundaries. Boundaries are borders and limits that you put around you in every facet of life, because working on you is the toughest thing you'll ever do. So you want to be secure and you want to stay secure coming out of this pandemic. We don't know what's ahead of us. We don't really have any idea what type of effect we're going to have. We're doing much better than we were, thank God. We were all hemmed up in the house and afraid to go to the grocery store, which was closing early, by the way. And by the time we got there and all the toilet paper was gone and all of the paper towel was gone and all of the essentials were gone, all of the milk was gone, we're doing much better than that now, thank God. However, we don't know what's around the corner. But we do know us. And all of us have been gifted with something. And your gift is always the answer. It is never the problem. And operating in excellence is a form of self-respect. There is no formula, but there are principles, guidelines of conduct. And guidelines give you freedom from faking performance. The power of the guidelines is in the process. Only when you are fulfilled in private do you have real inner satisfaction. So you cannot fix what you don't face. And self-discipline is like the yellow brick road to achievement. And that's why I said earlier, we have to move out of our own way. That's why I said earlier that most people can't look at themselves in the mirror for over 7 seconds, because they only see what they're not. So people generally fall into one of 3 categories, right? They're aspiring to change. They're wanting to do it, but they haven't done it yet. They're emerging, which means they're doing something about it, but they're not there yet. And at this stage, you're free to quit pretending, you're free to be yourself, or they're established, so you know who you are and where you're going. So as I tell my clients all the time, this is a sidebar, never outsource your purpose to monetary pursuits, ever. It's not about the money. People say it is, it's really not. There are people with money that can't sleep at night. They can't pay enough money to get a full night's rest. We all know people like that. So it's really about working on ourselves. And pardon me, that's That's my daughter's dog, Cleo, that's a Cocker Spaniel that's barking. But it's all about working on ourselves. It's all about being different. It's all about holding to our values. Um, and working on you never gets old. And there's a way to do it that is non-threatening to us, that's private, that's personal. Um, and and so one my clients ask me all the time, well, how do I do this? I mean I'm in this, well, how do I do this? And my follow-up question to them is, how much time do we spend on social media? That's a different answer for whoever you ask. All right. How much time do we spend on social media? uh, a lot. We spend a lot on social media. Take 10 minutes to of social media time and work on your values. Take 10 minutes one day and work on your worth and your value and your dignity. You have to think through those. That's not some formula like a teaspoon of Robitussin cough syrup that um, you can just take and it'll change you. You have to work 10 minutes on you every day. And if you work 10 minutes on you every single day, you will be amazed in just 5 days how you'll change. Okay, I'll take any questions that you might have.
Dr. Walker, thank you so much. I want you to be my personal motivator in life. You have a new job. No, I appreciate this and all of your Dr. Walker definitions. And I love how you said discomfort is normal while you're growing. That was a good reminder for me that we're growing into a new normal. So that's why sometimes a lot of this does feel discomfort, going back to work, starting to go back right regularly, and how that feels uncomfortable, but I just have to grow into that new norm. So I think that was a moment for me that really resonated. So thank you so much. Since we do have a smaller group, maybe if someone does have a question, are we okay with them unmuting and asking their question? Feel free to chime in if you have any questions or closing comments. Okay. Well, feel free to chime in as we're wrapping up here. As Dr. Walker shared, we'll go ahead and email all of our registrants with the recording of this session, and then also the worksheet that I think will be useful to us as we're thinking about our individual values. So thank you again so much to our alumni and other guests for joining us this afternoon, and Dr. Walker, we really appreciate you sharing as well. Yeah, thank you, Mia. It was fantastic. This was a really great motivating hour, and it reminds us all how much we need to reflect and give ourselves that 10 minutes. That's not a lot, as you pointed out. Thank you.
And yes, thank you all. I appreciate your time. It was a pleasure to come and talk to you. And to me, it's all about imparting pieces of my purpose. Numbers don't matter to me. What matters is that lives are changed and people are enlightened. So God bless to all of you.
Yes, thank you so much. All right, well, everyone, have a fantastic afternoon. Thank you again, Dr. Walker.